Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Import Export Hub channel, everybody. Boring Bogdan here. Thanks for joining in. I hope that everybody is doing great. And without prolonging this intro too much, let's dive into today's topic, in which I will try to briefly cover the advantages and disadvantages of attending international trade shows, of course, as an exhibitor, so that you can have hopefully a better understanding of the pros and cons involved here. And don't worry, I'll try to make this presentation very short, so I'll get right to the point and I will start with the advantages. And obviously the first one is to raise awareness. It's the simplest way really in which you can raise your profile and hopefully generate some brand awareness. And besides taking, a stand at a trade show, there are usually other advertising and sponsorship opportunities you can take there, from, branded seating to sponsoring a workshop or even the entire event. So that's another way of raising awareness. And of course, depending on your budget, you can consider exploring this opportunity. Another advantage that I see in going to trade shows is that you are meeting with potential business partners face to face, which for me at least is a big plus and a great way to start building relationships. Another reason, so the third one for going and attending an event like this, is to network with potential suppliers, clients, competitors, why not? Try to catch up if you already know them. Try to mix into the conversation the personal and the professional life. Try to learn and understand how they are seeing the business environment, what threats or opportunities they anticipate, or even what trade shows are they going to attend in the future. These are all questions, if you ask me, worth exploring without the risk of sounding too intrusive. Another advantage that I see, but this is a double-edged sword if you want, as the opposite applies also, is to gather info about your competitors, and this is a perfect environment from which you can gather intelligence about your competitors. And guys, a strong piece of advice here: be careful, really careful what you're saying at the first meeting. Try to not go into specific details unless you read the person in front of you and he or she seems genuinely interested in your product or service. And guys, the last advantage that I see by going to trade shows is that you can start building qualified sales leads. And don't worry if a lot of them won't bring any business soon. It won't. But instead, be patient like a farmer, like I always say to my clients, and start thinking that you've somehow planted some seeds in the ground. And of course, some of them will pop up and become the fruits or the vegetables you wanted, while some of them, unfortunately, will be eaten by insects. Anyways, now in terms of disadvantages, because there are some disadvantages, well, obviously costs from, stand space, maybe some sponsorships we talked about earlier, from stand design and build to, travel, accommodation, and transporting the goods. And by all means, these are not small sums, especially if at the end of the show, you're making the mistake of looking at your ROI. And I won't include here staff training because I hope and I suppose that you won't go with staff at that show that doesn't know the product or the service. So I will skip this from the disadvantages list, but I'll focus on competition and copycat companies who are very opportunistic, to say the least. So be, again, very careful on what you're saying, showing, or doing. And here, for me, it is very important to have a strong intellectual property strategy in place. This is a must, especially when displaying new products. So again, this strategy involves some costs, some sunk costs. And the last disadvantage that I see is related to the expected results, which again aren't guaranteed. But again, as I've said earlier, take this experience as a lesson and start think as a farmer. Remember, with every marketing effort, you're basically planting seeds for a future crop. So these were the main advantages and disadvantages. I've told you I will be very, very brief. And now, before I end this video, I will move to some quick tips for you. And the first one is to do some basic research in order to identify the right trade show and of course ask the organizer some basic stats about the number of visitors from the past, who are the exhibitors, and so on. And of course, a good organizer will always provide this kind of information. Another tip is to do some research about the culture of the country that is hosting the trade show, the culture of your target market, and of course have the marketing materials, please translated at least in English. A good business practice is to prepare them also in the local language, as Asian and Southeast Asian are very sensible at the efforts coming from a potential business partner. And remember that in Asian countries, business relationships are built from the personal relationships. And the last piece of advice that unfortunately some people forget is to inform your embassy, because you don't know when you need some support. Hopefully you won't need their support, but it's always better to inform them about your stay and your whereabouts. So guys, with this being said, my job for today is done. Thanks for watching. I really hope that I've managed to give you some useful information. Don't forget to hit those little annoying little buttons below this video. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.